Final email.
Okay, here we go. This is a longer
This is a
one
good email.
about the Kipchoge story. Yeah, this is great. All right. So Vic writes in. He was there. The Kipchoge in Paris, running for those spots in Paris 2024. He says, I have a lot to say about this activity, but let me give you a quick briefing. One, participants were not told clearly what the race would look like, but we were asked to be honest and pick the block. And in this case, I think it means corral, or how we would say that in the United States would be corral, according to our actual running skills. The email was sent the week before with the invitation. They also said that if we were not sure what block to pick the next fastest one. I was in block 4 because block 3 was packed. So block 1 would be the slowest, right, Gordon? And then going back from there, is that how we're assuming?
Yeah.
Because block 1 would start first. Correct. Okay. There was space in block 1, but I was honest and picked the next fastest block. We were also told that we would be disqualified if we passed our block's pacer, but a few minutes before the exit, this was changed to you can pass the pacer after 2K, which was done in French only, leaving many of us doubtful if we had understood well, or in many cases, clueless about the change. 3, the blocks were packed and the exit was bottleneck. The first K was downhill, so people caught some real speed. Then the turns were challenging and the route was dangerous in some areas for the speed of the participants, sharp turns with little room. 4, Eliud did not run 100% on the same course as all the runners. When he passed me, he means to say there, he was on a different street. I will add a screenshot. I was hoping at least to see him passing me, but I did not even get that. And he includes a picture here with Eliud running on the other side of the road with a large grass median, it looks like, in between. The shots we saw, he was running, passing people, but obviously they're going to show those shots because those are the most interesting. 5, Saturday during the number pickup, we were asked to wear the t-shirt with the corresponding block color. The t-shirt is made out of cotton. You know, one of those you would never wear to run. So the organization was willing to bring Eliud, but they were not willing to invest a couple of euros to give us at least a running t-shirt. Yeah, I know I'm being picky on this one. 6, this event was free, but not limited to French residents. So many of us travel from Germany, Spain, England, and other European countries. I'm not sure I had gone all the way to Paris with 1 week to plan everything if I had known Eliud would be 90 seconds behind me. That's tough. When you find out the block you're in and you only get a 90-second head start on the greatest men's marathon runner in history, that's tough. That's a tough break. He says, it is what it is, but there's a petition in change.org to reestablish fairness and give all participants a number. He's talking about a number in the mass race for 2024. The organization, trying to do some damage control, sent us an email saying that the first 200 of blocks 4 and 5 would get a bib. So those are the people who started. So if he was 90 seconds ahead of Kipchoge and he was in block 4, yeah. So but did block 5 get like a head start of like 60 seconds? Like, did they really think there was that many? If they knew Ellie was going to run 14:20, did they really think there was that many people at this race who were like 15 flat? Like, that's hard to believe. Anyway, I continue. I was not in the first 200, fair enough, but these 400 big bibs were as responsible to the backlash, a response falling short of any public acknowledgement of the poor plan that took place before, during, and after the events. He sends along a link to the change.org petition. He says it's in French, but you can Google Translate. He said, I want to share with you guys my experience and some notes you'll not see in the press. This could be a bad start for Paris 2024 that is already getting some bad rep because taxpayers will have to sponsor a lot of expenses for the Olympics. So I click on the change.org petition, and he's correct. It is in French. I translate it to English, and these Google translates are pretty interesting. It says, petition to restore fairness for obtaining the bib to participate in the Marathon Olympics 2024. We demand from the organization of the Marathon Race for All to restore fairness by automatically providing a bib to all participants of this race. The request is based on the deception of which the participants were the victim from a regulatory point of view. And then they list all the bullet points here as well. This is an interesting turn of events here, Gordon. And I think I mentioned before, this is going to be hard to organize and do it in a way that's somewhat equitable. The marathon itself is going to be hard to organize because they're running it the same day as the Olympics. They invited a bunch of logistical challenges with doing this race. So I can see why people will be upset.
Yeah, there's certain things in there that were like, you can't run faster than your own pacer. It's like, wait, what? So like,
yeah.
I thought the whole goal was to beat Kipchoge, not like beat Kipchoge within a certain arbitrary parameter that's written in French that you don't know the rules to, and you know, I did like his little subtle of like you had to wear cotton, and that like was a big disadvantage. Which I get
Look,
it, but like, I mean, come on, you can. I've run in cotton shirts, and you manage. It's not the end of the world.
if
I thought that was funny.
this was just a fun thing, okay, you laugh it off and you move on. You're like, all right, don't take it so seriously. But they were racing. This was actually racing for something,
True.
and they traveled to compete in this race with the idea that it could qualify. Now, was the qualification off the wall a bit? Of course it was, because you're beating Kipchoge. You don't know how hard Kipchoge's going to try. Clearly, he's not trying his hardest. So it's easy to dismiss it. But when you think about the fact that they did dangle something out there, the opportunity to win something, and you want to win it based on merit, not just on the honor system or some sort of quirk in the rules, you can see why people get upset about that. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna do it and you're gonna dangle the possibility of qualifying for a marathon, you got to understand that runners are serious people and they're going to show up and they want clear and fair rules here.
Yeah, it makes sense when you look when you make a good point. If you said like, "Hey, you get to go to the Olympics if you do this," and then you realize it's rigged, that Kipchoge is not even going to be on the same pathway as you, that you're going to be on a different street.
Yeah,
You know, like look at this photo that they sent us. Like the runner, like how is that possible? What? Why are there two
yeah.
different paths on the same trail? Right? It makes no sense. Um, but
Did they did
the,
they get
the
Fire
thing that just
Festival here?
yeah, it could have been. I just don't understand the whole idea is like you can't run past your pacer. Like
Yeah, that's silly.
that makes no sense. I
Yeah,
and the whole they seem to do a good job at. Well, here's the thing: if you were like, how do you say you're like a 15-minute 5K runner, right?
yeah.
And you're like, all right, I'm going to pretend I'm a 20-minute 5K runner, and then therefore I'm guaranteed I can
Hmm.
just have an
Yeah,
extra 5 minutes of. So they're trying to prevent that. So I'm guessing that's why they said you can't run past your
yeah,
pacer because they don't want you to sandbag your time.
yeah. Okay, but
But what they should have
there was
done
what?
is they should have done this. They should have done this. They should have said everyone starts at this time. Kipchoge is going to start 4 minutes later, and you're either in or you're out. They try to make it
Yeah,
so like we can like get a little bit of every level in. They should have just been like everyone goes, Kipchoge
yeah,
waits, and then he goes. And I'm sorry, but if you're like a 22-minute 5K runner, then you're not going. Now the problem is, how do you handle like it's basically all the men are going to get in and the women won't because you know.
yeah,
So you'd have to what they should have done like a maybe like a conversion factor of like if Kipchoge beats you, I don't know for the whip. Typically, these type of
well, you could have.
situations are for charity, and basically,
Yeah, they're not
you start
serious.
last, and every person you pass donates money to charity.
Right,
They've never
right,
really
right,
done it where you get this arbitrary head start, and then you get an actual
right.
prize for winning this arbitrary head start. So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole concept's kind of flawed in the beginning because how do you make it equal to for age group and gender to make it fair for everyone
yeah.
competing against a virtual Kipchoge? Yeah.
Here's what you got to do. You can't go in the middle. You either got to do all the work or you got to just let it be a free for all. And this is true not just with this race, but there's a lot of times in life when you're organizing something and you got to decide between those two because when you go in the middle, that's when problems come up. So what you said was a free for all. It doesn't need to be 4 minutes. Maybe it's 6 minutes. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Whatever. Pick a number. Kipchoge is going to start then. If you beat him, you're in. If you don't beat him, you're out. That's it. Or you do all the work. You let 3,500 people in. You hire 10, 20 people part time to just get on Strava, look up all their data. No, I'm serious. 35. How long would it take? 3,500 people. If you
Yeah, it
had
won't take
a
that
group
long.
of
You could do it.
volunteers, yeah, would not
Yeah.
take that long. Try to get a good gauge. Get it on the waiver ahead of time that says, "Hey, we are assigning you a bib. You have to accept it." Right? You have to accept it. So we create some sort of score. You score this, you're in this corral based on what you've run before on Strava. And in this, the incentive is to be seen as a lower seed, I guess. But if you pull enough data from Strava, you can get a pretty good indication. And if you get a bad beat and you're in the wrong corral, so what? That's the rule. But this middle ground where we want to stagger the starts based on ability, but it's on the honor system and you can't pass the pacer. So you're kind of screwed in that sense. But these people are only getting, these people can't understand the directions because they're in French, is tough. Like that's where you get into this middle ground, which causes all these issues.
I do remember there's like a famous race. I think it's in Ireland. It's like a street race. It's like a kid like race in like a yard, and it happens in a nation, and it's all based off of like ability, where like there's like a handicap, and it's like trying to find like the fastest kid in the country. And there was a big controversy because there was apparently accusations of people sandbagging their entry times or to achieve. Do you know what this race is? It's like
No, no, sounds interesting.
Ireland kid race controversy. I'm googling. I'm not gonna be able to find it anyway. But yeah,
Hold, let me.
basically what you said is you can't go half. You can't say like, "Hey, honor system, figure it out, and then we'll see what happens, and we'll celebrate at the end." Um, they should have done.
Here's
I do like the whole like Strava route of like having hardcore investigative reporters go into the
yeah.
like, all right, what was your rest on this workout you did? Okay, dude, this
Mhm.
that's a factor of this, and you're now in the blue corral because of this Strava segment that you did two
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Well, it doesn't
I like
sound
that.
like they announced this ahead of time very much, and someone can write in and correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, someone wouldn't be able to cheat the system with Strava because you have enough data. It's not as if they announced the race a year ago and then you could fake your, run waste. That'd be stupid too. You're gonna run slower for an entire year on Strava just because you want to get into a race. That'd be kind of silly. I think most people would be honest because they want to have a better seed, in this case, aka a slower seed, but they also want to impress their friends on Strava. So I think
Yeah.
impressing their friends on Strava with fast workouts will win out. I want to read this comment though. There's a comment on the change.org petition, Gordon. It says, "We came from Strasbourg with stars in our eyes, but losing without a fight is unfair and does not convey the values of the sport. I was, like many, in the fastest airlock. I broke, I think like many, all my records, but the monster had overtaken me for a long time, before 2 kilometers, I believe. I returned to Strasbourg with tears in my eyes."
I feel like the meet director underestimated the seriousness
Seriousness.
that
Yes.
local runners take when it comes to road racing. They probably thought, "Oh, it's a festival environment. We're gonna go run, and we're gonna give out a couple prizes to people who finish ahead of Kipchoge to go come back in 2024." They didn't
Mhm.
realize they're gonna get the serious people who are traveling miles and miles who want
Yeah.
to move on to the next
They
round, and they kind of
they got
underestimated. They thought it
change.org.
was a yeah. There's a change out. The person who came up with this idea had no idea that they were like inviting the
Yeah.
yeah. They probably aren't runners.
Well,
Maybe the person who's the meet director isn't a runner and doesn't understand running culture and how they operate. They probably thought it'll be a fun idea. It's probably some marketing exec, right? Who's
yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
for for the Olympics who has no idea connecting to running at all. Oh yeah, let's put on a road race. Oh yeah, Kipchoge, he's that sub 2 hour guy. Yeah, make him run. It'll be fun. They're probably very spitballing in some on a Zoom meeting and then not
Yeah.
realizing they got change.org coming after them now.
They came from Strasbourg with stars in their eyes, Gordon. That's how it started. And it ended on a road in Champs-Élysées. I mean, imagine getting pumped up though and to run this thing. And at the very least, it's going to be a good story because Kipchoge is going to pass you in the last
Yeah,
mile. And instead, he passes you at 2K on across the street, and you don't even notice it until someone says, "Hey, wait, is that Kipchoge?" That'd be annoying. I
yeah.
could see that would be annoying. And I'm on the more relaxed end when it comes to recreational running, and I would be annoyed by that. I didn't even come from Strasbourg with stars in my eyes. I came from my house to read this email, and it still kind of bothered me. So I'm with them. I'm with them. All right.